Recording.
I'm not sure how long this is going to last, but it's just a quick riding video of the CCM GP 450. I'm out on it, a little bit wet, so taking it steady. 5-speed gearbox, quite low geared on this. I'm not sure if it's changed the gearing, but it pulls really nicely. So 5th gear will pull sort of 30 miles an hour onwards. There was a complaint with these that they should have had 6-speed and they should have had a bigger engine, but I'm not sure, you know. I actually think in hindsight now, a few years on, this engine really suits the chassis of the bike, and also the era which we're entering, where people do want something a bit more lighter, more manageable, and where we've come to accept that a smaller engine is perfectly adequate. I think 6 years ago when this came out, there was still this obsession with big power, big engine, and I think people were willing to spend a lot of money on a smaller engine bike, and so it looked expensive. And I think things are changing and moving in the, I guess, the right direction, where people want less weight, really. Less weight, because less weight often equates to more adventure. And I think the CCM was probably just a little bit ahead of its time, really. It wasn't without its faults either. It did have a few electrical gremlins, and I guess the customer was always part of the development phase. Things like the cush drive, which were brought in a few years into its production cycle, they had to be bought by the customer to upgrade the model. So it was sort of improved as it went along, and the customer was part of that development cycle. Also, there were a few issues with the wiring, and some of the assembly issues meant that it... oh dear, that's not good. So in a way, the CCM developed something of a patchy reputation, and I think probably it started with a patchy reputation from the bikes of the 2000s that it were building, which equally had a reputation for being slightly prone to failure. But for me, the GB450 was just something daring. It was something different. It was something bold that was built by a small team of people, and I did like that, and I kind of admired it. And I've got to say, I've just been trail riding on it, and I'm going to take you to another trail. Where it shines is this as a transition bike. So I'm on the road now. I'm fairly comfortable. I've got a decent screen. I can do 60, 70, 75 miles an hour with ease. I remember when these first came out, and I did Bolton down to Wales in a single stretch, 200-mile fuel range. It was a bit busy at 80 miles an hour, but it did it down the M6 and M5, so it will do motorway miles. So it'll do that on the road, and then as soon as you hit a trail, the lightness of the bike and the responsiveness of the engine, the ground clearance and the quality of suspension, just turn it into a great transition bike. And I guess CCM's aim was always to develop a bike that didn't need anything else doing to it from a customer's point of view. And it's a similar story, I guess, with the AJP PR7. That's a bike I have ridden down here on the lanes. I did find that a little bit of a handful on the tighter, gnarlier stuff, just the extra power and the slight extra bit of weight. It was probably a little bit too much bite for my ability, I've got to be honest, and I loved it on the road. I thought the AJP made a great road bike and a great gravel track bike. As a gnarly green lane bike for Britain, probably a little bit too much for me. There'll be some riders who could tame it and do a great job on it, but probably a bit too much for me. And I've got to say, riding this CCM on some of the tight, steep, rocky climbs that you might have seen on the videos that I've used for the CRF test, or the Himalayan test, the 450 is almost too much bike for me. It's almost on the cusp, where it's got more power than I know what to do with. So it's certainly not too much engine. It's certainly not too little amount of engine. Certainly for green laning. So yeah, with the benefit of eyesight, I think they got the engine choice pretty right. And let's not forget, CCM couldn't afford to develop their own engine. They just had to take what they could get. And the G450X engine was off the shelf, ready to go. I don't know what they paid per unit, but it was obviously a modest amount of money which allowed them to build a bike around it. And if they wanted to design their own engine, it would have been stratospheric price point, and they would have had to sell 100,000 units. So, you know, it is what it is, a compromise. So I'm going to take you to a trail, just see how it gets on, and let you know. All right, see ya. See ya. Okay, so just going up to a trail. Not sure how long the battery is going to last on this. I'm far from a professional YouTuber. I wish I was, but I always end up setting off without enough memory card or enough battery or whatever. So we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. See how far this memory card lasts. Just going to do a trail here. You might recognise from a few other videos, but it's been graded recently, so made a lot easier. A lot of the fun's been taken out of it, unfortunately. I actually come down it yesterday on the CT 125, and I've got to be honest, on those standard road tyres, and I struggled a little bit. I was all over the place. This, on the other hand, much better. Still moving around a bit. There's quite a slormy mud along here. Just trying to keep it loose. I think I'm in third. It's got no gear indicator. Just really responsive on the throttle. So the whole point of the front sprocket mounted on the swing arm pivot point. So the swing arm bolt goes through the axle, through the front sprocket. The whole point of that was to try and give continuous drive even under acceleration, and to keep the chain under constant tension. It wasn't adopted by anybody else, so I guess it was maybe seen as a bit of a bad attempt at new design. It never really took off for whatever reason, but it's hard to say whether it's making a difference to you or not, really. The only thing it is, it's very susceptible, makes the bike very susceptible to tension, chain tension. So you've got to keep it, I think, 10 mil either side, and keep on top of it. Another thing with the maintenance of this bike, it's only got I think it's a 1 litre oil capacity in the sump, which is quite small for what you might use as a travel bike. So it really took a keen eye on daily checks to make sure you didn't run it dry. And people did run it dry, and they blew the engines up or seized the engines. This is a challenging little climb. Just going to go down a gear. I think I'm in second. It's hard to see. Yeah. As I was saying, I wouldn't want any more power up there. Imagine if that were a 650 up there. What on earth would you do with an extra 200cc capacity and an extra 10 horsepower, whatever? You wouldn't be able to do anything with it, would you? Tell you what, it's a cracking bike. It really is a cracking bike. I am slightly biased because I've just bought it. But that's... why something like this has not took off by somebody else, I will never know. Lightweight, good power, designed for travel. I guess it's just too niche, isn't it? It's just too niche. And I do feel sorry for the manufacturers trying to please the other... I think it might be able to get... no, I'll turn around, mate. Go on, you're alright. Yeah, loads of room, mate. That's alright, loads of room. You alright, mate? Friendly bunch. So, yeah, the problem is the adventure market, I think, is quite fickle, and it's quite hard to define what is an adventure bike. I think that's half the problem. If you ask the trail guys what an adventure bike is, they'd say something very different to the guys who want to ride to the south of France and do a bit of gravel track. So like I say, so what is a sports bike? Well, a sports bike is something that can go around a track as fast as possible. It's very easy to define that and improve on that and offer something better than the last man. Building a better adventure bike, well, A, what is an adventure? Who is an adventurer? What type of adventure are they going on? And it's just such a vague vague term, and I think I can kind of see why the manufacturer's just given up in a sense and just said, all right, we're just going to buy build big capacity adventure bikes, because we know that if we build it faster, bigger, with more toys on it than the last one, people will buy it. And from a manufacturer's point of view, that's purely good economics, isn't it? You know, why would they try and reinvent the wheel and fail? BMW at one point would have had the GS12 in the line, the G650X, the G450X, the G650 GS, and the GS1200 was a big seller of them. So I guess the manufacturers have just stuck with what's sold, and those of us who want something a bit more, I don't know, slimmed down, pared down, basic, we're just not a strong enough market. And it was tricky I always felt for CCM, because they really went out on a limb and they put a lot of effort in trying to build this perfect bike, this perfect package to please people. And a lot of people weren't pleased because it was too expensive, wrong engine, you know, lots of reasons. It should have done this, it should have used this, they should have done it that way. And yeah, I think there's an easy reason as to why they've just turned to building hipster Spitfires, because it's just an easier market, a less demanding market, not as price sensitive. Because the problem with the adventure bike crowd is they want a light, powerful, strong bike, but they only want to pay peanuts for it. Was it Colin Chapman, I think, maybe, who said strong, light, cheap, pick two, because you can't have all three. And I think that's CCM went for strong and light, and cheap, not so much. Alright, this is where I broke down on the Himalayan. Let's see if we'll get further than we did on that. The Himalayan, I don't know what's up with it. It's collected by the dealer and they're investigating it now. Hopefully not too much longer, because I could do with that bike back, but at least they're looking at it. So we've got a steep climb here. I'm thinking this could be a second gear hill. I've not been up it for a while. Let's see what it's like. Actually, no, let's go down to first. Whoop, up, 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 up. Okay. I think I'm in third. No, I'm in second. God, wow, this bike chugs in second with no clutch slip on an exposed rocky slope. Holy moly, this bike's good. It really is good. I mean, that's almost trials section, that. And it's taken second. It would have took second up there, I think, no problem at all. We're second now, second gear now. It is low geared, this. I think you could gear it up for the road, and if you weren't doing any technical stuff, you could certainly gear it up a little bit. I mean, it's a proper dirt bike, that's what this is, and to be honest, CCM's background was building scramblers, so it's definitely done a good job. So I'm second gear. I'm not even going to touch that clutch. I'm getting good drive. I'm on clutch now. Woohoo! That was good though, that. I enjoyed that. Let's get to the top. Nice engaging lane, that. I've come up that lane on the KTM 390, the 310 GS, the Himalayan CRF. So all those bikes are capable. I guess it's just the way in which they do it. And I've got to say, CCM is doing a very good job of it. And I would say, actually, conditions on this lane are worse than they've been for a long time. Yeah, I would say that's a lot of water down it, that has. What a lane that is. That's a spectacular lane. Yeah. So many of the comments on the earlier video say it's too expensive for 150. I'll tell you what a bloody bike that is. What a bike. It's better than I remember it. It really is. I'm more experienced rider than when I first rode it, or second rode it, so I can get more out of it. And I've ridden more bikes to sort of compare it to. I tell you what, that is it's just a cracking chassis, great engine, great suspension, Great standing position, good controls, it's got good brakes on it, it's well balanced, it's light, it's tenacious. It's a great bike. It really is a great bike. I mean, it's one of those products of a time that didn't appreciate what was being offered. Got to think of all the negativity this bike received on the forums. So much negativity. And you ride it now with all the fanfare gone or all the hype gone. You just think, what a brilliant piece of machining and engineering and design to build a bike with a 17-litre tank that can travel with a screen, do long distances, but can equally just pound up a track like that as though it's a trial bike. And I think that's a real sense of success, or a real sign of success. Yeah, it's bloody lovely, that. Really good. If you ever get a chance, well, I've got one of this, you can come down and ride this one, not probably on that trail, I won't take people up there, but on the road and whatever, yeah, get down and have a ride on it. Not for everyone. A few people rode it on the weekend and just like, it's okay. One even said it was worse off-road than his V-Strom 650, which I kind of took with a bit of pinch of salt, but to me, that was one of Britain's best motorcycling moments, that bike. What a shame it never got a second generation to take what it was good at, remove what it was bad at, and deliver a really phenomenal class-leading platform. But what it would have also taken for that to happen is for the British public to have given it a chance instead of coming down on it with a ton of bricks because it was not the right bike, or it wasn't conceived in their vision of a perfect adventure bike. So the success of this bike is largely on the shoulders of the British buying public, who all they did was complain. Build them up and knock them down. Anyway, over and out. Cheers.